I want you to destroy me.
Okay.
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an alright day today. Been a little bit boring with this price action, let's be honest, with Bitcoin. We're still hanging around the center of this area, right around that $16,800 level. You know, you can see right here, it was a bunch of resistance, then it became support, and now again, it's acting as that resistance. But as I have pointed out, we are getting very, very, very close to the end of this wedge right here, and I am expecting some type of a big move for Bitcoin within the next 3 weeks to a month. But I am going to push the technicals to the end of the video today because, as you guys can see right here, US SEC Chairman Gary Gensler says that cryptocurrency crackdown is just getting started. So could they actually ban Bitcoin, right? There's even been a few people, you know, in political positions coming out and talking about an outright ban after the FTX collapse. And I think that's also why you're seeing a lot of stagnation in the Bitcoin price. You're not really seeing Bitcoin do anything, while you've actually seen, for example, I mean, just having a look at the S&P. I mean, look at the S&P. The S&P has had multiple, you know, big bounces up and down, which is what you would expect, right? You would expect these sort of, you know, rip your face off, melt, you know, up rallies, but we really haven't seen that for Bitcoin. And obviously that has a lot to do with what's been going on with Sam Bankman-Fried, and also the fact that Gary Gensler has been potentially accused of foul play as well. So guys, stick around, get subscribed if you haven't. I wanted to start off right here. If you guys didn't see, so Sam is in New York, and you can see him right here. He's being escorted, you know, on $250 million bail, by the way, which is absolutely crazy. We'll get to that in a minute. Did you guys see that he actually got into the wrong car?
Just put him in. I didn't want to go. Sorry, buddy. Sorry, buddy. No thanks.
Yep.
Come on, buddy. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Watch yourself, guys. Guys,
Sam, what he said to your
calm down,
investors?
guys. Everybody all right?
Okay, hammer in the head.
Okay, family.
So Alexandra Huck pointed out that he had been freed on $250 million bail. A lot of people were confused as to how this happened. There's 60 homes for sale in Palo Alto, ranging from $950,000 to $53.9 million as of December 22nd. Joseph Bankman's net worth was $5 million, and Barbara Fried's $3.8 million. And Sam apparently had only $100,000 left. The math does not add up, but you can actually see right over here in this interview with Tucker Carlson, you actually have Vivek kind of explaining what's really happening right here.
Well, there is a trick here, Tucker, and you put your finger on it. The New York Times incorrectly tweeted earlier this evening that he was released on $250 million bail. That is dead wrong. It is a bond because $250 million wasn't actually put up. It was just an equity interest in his parents' $4 million home. So it may as well have been.
So it's like his business itself. It's totally fake.
Exactly. That's the whole point. The whole thing is a smokescreen. It is an optical illusion. And why did they do it? It's because it makes the prosecutors look good. It makes them look like they're being tough, making the highest possible bond in American history. Guess what? If he flees, it could have been $10 trillion. Nobody's putting up that money. And the whole thing is a story of smokescreens, from the do-good smokescreen of SBF and effective altruism and the good ESG scores, now to the prosecutors, just like SBF, pretending like they're participating in a modern Charles Dickens novel where everyone is a caricature of themselves, playing their own role. And this was all about today, the prosecutors puffing their chest at something that was an optical illusion all the way down.
So is it all just smoke and mirrors? Is it all just bread and circuses? Is it all just a distraction? Does he have friends in high places like Bill Ackman pointed out? I instinctually want to believe the best in people when coupled with my strong belief that one is innocent until proven guilty. I can be at risk of trusting a crook. Sam Bankman-Fried posted $250 million of bail, is in itself a criminal indictment and refutation of everything he has said to date. But this is where it gets interesting, because you have Gary Gensler now coming out, you know, taking advantage of this opportunity because we do have Sam and FTX collapsing, and now we need the regulators to step in and save the day. And he says until crypto platforms comply with time-tested securities laws, risks to investors will persist. It remains a priority of the SEC to use all of our available tools to bring the industry into compliance. And then we have Representative Tom Emmer, who, by the way, has been coming pretty hard for Gary Gensler lately, saying Gary Gensler and the SEC had more meetings with SBF and FTX, IEX than anyone else in crypto, allegedly to craft a special regulatory framework designed to benefit FTX alone. Making backroom regulatory deals with bad actors is not a tool in the SEC's toolbox. So what's interesting is you can kind of take two potential stories for this, right? Obviously, the truth will eventually come out over time. Right now, there is a lot of speculation. So it's either, they wanted to get regulation either way, basically in a nutshell, right? So was Gary Gensler's plan to have FTX sort of become, the go-to place for all the US citizens so they could do it exactly how they wanted? But now that it blew up, are they flipping it on its head and using it now as the example of why we need regulation, right? Either way, though, we know that that's what they wanted to do. And you can see right here, that FTX case may bring the SEC one step closer to banning crypto exchanges. Now, there is a lot of FUD in these articles, but we will read through the lines and kind of get the real gist of what's going on here. But you can see that they go on to say that the SEC appears to be compiling legal ammunition to take on the beating heart of the global crypto economy, which is centralized exchanges. In addition to revealing that Caroline Ellison and Gary Wang had flipped on Bankman-Fried, which, by the way, if you guys don't know, they basically ratted him out, and are now fully cooperating with federal authorities, the complaint divulged that the SEC, in its pursuit of securities fraud charges pertaining to FTX sale of its native token FTT, appears to be escalating its assault on crypto assets as a whole. So it's no surprise that the SEC charged Ellison and Wang with securities fraud for manipulating the price of FTT and for offering FTT as an unregistered security. So if FTT is an unregistered security, then just by this definition by the SEC, then also BNB, right, is an unregistered security, and any token of any exchange, right? KuCoin's token, BitGet has a token, a lot of them have tokens. I don't know. So that would make them all, right, unregistered securities, according to them, which is consistent with the agent's recent successful suit against blockchain-based content sharing platform Library. Wednesday's complaint labeled FTT an illiquid crypto asset security, making the subtle but crucial point that the SEC views FTT as a security in itself, regardless of the manner in which it was offered or sold. While seemingly semantic, the difference between pursuing an action against a company for offering an asset as a security and labeling an asset inherently as a security in all contexts marks a shift in the SEC's decade-long approach to security regulation. The change could mean a potentially substantial escalation in the agency's efforts to regulate the crypto industry. If the SEC can get courts to agree that crypto tokens like FTT are securities regardless of how they are offered, the agency would be able to go after more than just the projects that create those tokens. So essentially now you're looking at a much larger scope. They could target any intermediary that sells those tokens in any context, in any scenario, meaning major crypto exchanges like Coinbase, Kraken, Binance would all be exposed to immense legal liability and either permitted to participate in crypto way registered exchanges like the New York Stock Exchange, or they would be forced to shut down. Now, this is going to put a big damper, if all of this does go through, on most of these, I should say, altcoins, right? Which is why I do think that the next crypto cycle, we may not see the rip-roaring, crazy blow-off tops for these altcoins like we did in the past, especially in the US, if these regulations end up getting put forward, right? And then getting back to where he says, the crackdown is just getting started. This is a quote from Gensler. He says, financial history would tell you that most of these tokens, especially native of the crypto exchanges, will fail. Insiders sell the public on the idea while they're potentially fraudulently pumping up the stock, the coin, the token. This leads to distorted incentives and puts the public further at risk of the token not being properly registered and having proper disclosures and complying with the various provisions of the securities laws about anti-fraud and anti-manipulation. The SEC chairman said he supports legislation that regulates crypto sectors like stablecoins. The U.S. securities laws is robust and covers much of the activity in the crypto ecosystem, not limited to tokens, but particularly including intermediaries in crypto sectors. So you can see right here, well, it's funny because they're talking about banning it. Just side note, guys, I just wanted to point out, so everyone's focused on crypto, everyone's focused on FTX, and I just want to point out, you have Wells Fargo, okay, just traditional, standard bank, fined $1.7 billion Consumer Financial Protection Bureau by the Consumer Protection Bureau in the largest ever civil penalty imposed by the agency. An additional $2 billion for its role in mismanaging consumer loans for over 16 million customers from illegal overdraft fees and other charges on checks and savings account customers to incorrectly freezing funds. Wells Fargo has made some serious damage. So I don't know. I just wanted to side note, it's like everyone's focused on all the terribleness that's going on in crypto, but yet this is happening with Wells Fargo, a bank that's literally been around for centuries, right? So, but getting back to this whole Gary Gensler thing, when it comes to this, ultimately, he is not looking to ban it. Now you had seen some people mentioning about potential bans. Like, for example, you had Senator Sherrod Brown reportedly saying that banning cryptocurrency is very difficult, but that they wouldn't rule it out, right? So in an interview with NBC's Meet the Press, you had the chair of the U.S. Senate Banking Committee pushing more for regulations. However, Brown acknowledges such an absolute prohibition may not be possible because banning it is very difficult because it will go offshore, and then who knows how that's going to work. So, at this point, they're like, look, people are going to do crypto whether or not we allow it. And if they don't do it in the US, they're going to go do it somewhere else, which means that there's going to be money to be made, which means that there's going to be taxes not to be made, right? So they're going to want to figure out. But the problem is they say it's a complicated, unregulated pot of money. Brown has requested the U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen to convene with other regulators on the development of legislation that would create authorities for regulators to have visibility into and otherwise supervise the activities of the affiliates and subsidiaries of crypto asset entities. So ultimately, you can see right here, banning it would be very difficult. Gensler is not looking to ban it. He's looking to regulate it, right? They want to get their hands in the pockets. They want these guys to register their tokens, right? Because there's money. There's money to be made, right? So that's what they're going to do, in my opinion. I don't think they're going to ban it. Now, the U.S. does have a history of not doing enough and then doing too much. I mean, look at what we do with basically quantitative easing and quantitative tightening, right? First, we couldn't stop printing money. We printed way too much money, right? And now we're just slamming down the hammer, every month, raising rates, right? We just went from 0 to 60, and that's how the U.S. goes. It's like flipping a coin. It's one extreme or the other. So I am a little concerned that the regulation maybe initially might be a little too aggressive. I do believe that they would then loosen it up a bit, allow decentralization to happen. But as far as centralized custody in these exchanges, they're going to have to answer to the laws and regulations that everyone else does. And, unfortunately, I know that that's not what people want for crypto. But that's the thing, as I've been saying on this channel, crypto regulation in the US doesn't change anything for Bitcoin. You can still use Bitcoin. Bitcoin still is what it is. It's decentralized. It's permissionless. It can cross borders. It will never not be that, right? But if you want to have it in a country where you want these big investors to come in, and not even just here, but over in the UAE, I've been talking about sovereign wealth funds probably for about a year now on this channel. Those guys are not coming in until they're absolutely certain, until there are rules. And you're talking lots of money, guys. I mean, crazy, crazy amounts of money. Billions and billions and billions. But let's just break it down really in context, okay? It does seem like it's the end of the world, especially if you're in crypto. Maybe you lost money. Maybe you had your money on FTX. If you did, I apologize. We never promoted them on this channel. We actually never promoted anything on this channel that went down, fingers crossed. But at this point, guys, like I said, I don't know. You guys know the exchanges I use. I don't know at this point. Luckily, so far, nothing we've talked about has gone down. But just remember how small it is. With the fallout from crypto at its peak, the crypto asset ecosystem shrunk from about 3 trillion to about 800 billion. Now, just in context, the entire market of all of the cryptocurrencies ever in existence had a peak of around 3 trillion. Apple is sitting at around 2.3 trillion. Just one stock, Apple, 2.3 trillion. The entire cryptocurrency ecosystem hit 3 trillion and is now sitting at about 800 billion. Just to put into perspective how small Bitcoin really still is. You have to just remember that. So it does give you a sense. They say how early we are and how unlikely it is that what has happened in crypto could cause a systemic financial crisis. So why aren't we seeing investors buying the dip right now? Well, they say they're being cautious about putting in too much money before the regulation does come in. They don't know what the regulators are going to say. Separately, Bitcoin ETF legislation is on the way, but it could take up to 2 years. Now, a spot Bitcoin ETF, which we know would hold actual real Bitcoin, would help to boost the market by giving more people direct actual exposure to Bitcoin. But nevertheless, like for example, you have guys like Bill Miller. I think he's worth, if you Google him, he's like 1.8 billion. He's like almost worth $2 billion, this guy. And he had an interview with Barron's where he was saying that Bitcoin has a place in portfolios. If anyone has a time horizon of longer than a year, you should do quite well in Bitcoin. I wouldn't call that an investment. I would call it a speculation, but I would call it a sound speculation. He says, I'm surprised Bitcoin isn't at half the price that it is right now after the FTX implosion. People have fled the space. So the fact that Bitcoin is still hanging around 17,000 is pretty remarkable, but inflation is being attacked and real rates are rising rapidly. He says, I would expect that if and when the Fed does pivot towards an easier monetary policy, then Bitcoin would benefit quite well. And, just once again, guys, to point out that there's a lot of positive news still happening. The official journal of Brazil reported yesterday that President Jair Bolsonaro has signed a bill into law that establishes a complete regulatory framework for the trading and use of Bitcoin as payment. Following approval by the president, crypto companies will have 180 days to adapt the new rules. The law creates a virtual service provider license, which companies, including exchanges and trading intermediaries, are expected to have. So, you are hearing a lot of FUD, but when you read between the lines, they really are just looking to regulate it. And then you have news also coming out from Brazil that they're allowing the use of Bitcoin for payment. So, you got to take everything with a grain of salt and understand that generally when you get this kind of FUD, this is when you know that, the time is good to potentially be loading up. Now, I do think there's a possibility for another leg down for Bitcoin, getting back to the chart. I do think the next leg down would probably be the last one. I think the majority of the selling that was going to happen has happened, with the exception of maybe, a couple retail people selling some Bitcoin to pay bills or something like that. I would say the majority of it is over. But, getting back here, we're still supported by this heart line in the flag. I would be shocked if anything crazy happened because tomorrow, we have Christmas Eve leading into Christmas. You're probably not going to see a lot of big crazy moves. I don't think a lot of people are really interested in trading over the next couple days. I don't know. Anything could happen. We've seen some crazy stuff. I still have my targets here. If you want to even long at this position, the area to really have gotten in was around 16,700, but it's only $150 off. And, that target brings us up right here to about $17,312. But I still think we have a potential chance, to get back to that 17.5 area, which, takes us right to this candle body right here. You can see we had 2 and a close. And then, of course, we did hit the original target, but we got rejected off of 18.2. So if you guys are interested in trading, make sure that you check out the tutorial popping up above. And also, don't forget, guys, we do have the extra $18,000 in bonuses on BitGet specifically. If you use the link below, if you guys are interested, definitely check that out. But yeah, we're still just hanging around here, as you guys could see, trying to break up this area right around 16.8, which is basically where we're at right now. We did lose this upward sloping trend, but thus far, we have still put in a higher low. So the only way that this becomes invalidated is if we close somewhere below 15,900. If we get a close below 15,900, then we have officially put in a lower low. But as you guys can see here, first target is 17.2, next target 17.54, and ultimate target again would be 18,200. If we get invalidated to the downside at 16.26, then the target would be 15,700. But regardless, again, just to kind of show you guys, I forget what I'm looking for. What am I looking for here? A box? Yeah, a rectangle. If we extend this out, you know, you're really just bouncing around in this area, right? You know, that's really all you're doing. Like, yes, we've lost it a little bit, but it's really just bouncing around, you know, in this sort of consolidation. So, you know, like I said, the thing that we are looking at is, you know, at some point, you know, when you have these, you know, down lower highs, lower lows, you eventually hit that point where it's make or break, right? And like we had back here, we actually bounced off that level and we found support and continued to the upside, right? And that's kind of where we are right now, in a way, if you have a look at it. Like I said, we only have 1, 2, maybe 3 weeks, a month max, and you're going to find yourself in a position where Bitcoin is either going to have to break down and hit some of these lower targets, or break out and maybe come back up to the top of the channel, because there's not going to be anywhere else to go, right? So that's basically that, guys. I just wanted to let you guys know the S&P today is pumping, and Bitcoin's kind of not doing anything again. And the DXY is still in its downward sloping trend. So it does still look like the DXY is falling. So ultimately, guys, that's it for me. Probably not going to be too exciting. Again, I can't stress it enough. Get your coins off exchanges. Take advantage of the Ledger stacks. They are doing pre-orders on this if you guys are interested. I do have those links below. But that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I make these videos. Have a great holiday. I'm going to probably make updates, to be honest with you, because I am going to be seeing family, but I'm also probably going to be bored. So I'll probably make an update. I don't know how exciting it's going to be the next couple days, but I hope you guys have an awesome holiday, whatever it is that you celebrate. I love you guys. If you do want to put your crypto on or hey, maybe get somebody a nice holiday gift, right? Check the Ledger tutorial, and also check out the tutorial if you want to learn how to trade. $56,000 in bonuses below. You guys rock. My name's K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto, and of course, peace out.